Let's do it.
A friend of mine called me up and asked me about that gal Sophie, you know, and what I meant by having her as a friend. Well, she was just a friend of mine, good friend. Her and I used to hang out all the time. Her and James get in an argument. And James wasn't a very pleasurable guy. He wasn't nice at all sometimes, especially when he started drinking. So Sophie'd come up to my place. I lived in a penthouse apartment. He had a place 2 floors below me. And Sophie'd come over and hang out. Then she started bringing some friends over. And of course, all the friends she had were hookers too there in Hong Kong. And now I wanted to tell you, she had a lot of friends because they worked in a place called the Bovo Club. And I want you to Google this after the show today. In 1985, when I was there, that Bovo Club had 2,000 girls under contract. And I mean, they had girls from all over the world. And it was a great club, huge. You walk in there and it was down in underneath this building. Of course, they're all high rises there in Hong Kong. You go down and underneath this building and they'd come and pick you up in a miniature Rolls Royce and take you over to a table and you talk to the mama-san there and tell her what you want, what you kind of drink, what kind of girl, whatever you wanted, it was available. So Sophie used to come over all the time, bring her friend over, and I want to draw an analogy about friendships with a hooker, all right, and what happened with me. Now, I didn't plan this, but I played it right. I got to tell you, it ended up right for me. I want to draw the analogy that, let's say these girls weren't hookers, they were race car drivers. You know, and night after night, they're out there on the track, running around there, and they have a co-pilot with them, so to speak, you know, and they run them around the track, and it's hectic. So they'd come over the house, over my place, and hell, we'd just sit around and we'd laugh and scratch and have a good time. You know, go out and rent a movie. It was all VHS in those days, and I'd run down and rent a movie, come back, we'd all sit around, watch a movie. And some nights there were 5, 6 girls in there. And I never made a move on any of them. And innuendos, nothing like that. And pretty soon I got to trusting old Pelvis. And periodically, on a night off or a day off or whatever, one would come over. And you know, even race car drivers take a Sunday drive just for the pleasure of it. You know, and Pelvis go along for the ride, you know, and it just, you know, and I made sure that when we were on that ride together, while we were driving that car around, while she was driving that car around, I should say, that I didn't get out of the car before she did. You know what I mean there? So I wanted to make sure that we all got at the same stop at the same time, because that rarely happens with those race car drivers when they're on the track. So the word got out, and I mean, girls would come over, I mean, one after another, you know, and old Pelvis, he was like an idol. I don't know what the hell they thought of me, but I had a lot of girls coming over, a lot of them. And Pelvis was in his prime. Come on, give me a break, you know. And so one night in this building we had, there was a guy on the at the entrance. He was like sort of like a night watchman. He was there all night long, and he's a Muslim. And it wasn't uncommon to walk in there and see him out, had his prayer rug out, and he'd be down. You know, their prayer takes place with them face down, you know, and looking like an egg on the floor there, and they're praying, and they do all kinds of movements and all that, but a lot of time they're face down. Well, one night I took this girl down and put her into a cab, and standing out there, and taxis, I mean, there's a million taxis in Hong Kong. They just stand out there, and one came along, I put her in the cab, and I walked back in the building, get on the elevator, go up to my place. And now this guy is down on his prayer rug like this. And I walk by him and I hear, Mr. Pelvis, Mr. Pelvis. Oh, yeah? Now, he didn't look up or anything. He said, Mr. Pelvis, I pray for you, Mr. Pelvis. I pray for you every night, Mr. Pelvis. I said, oh, no, I'm doing good. I said, but say a little prayer for the little guy down here. I said, I think I got another one coming over later tonight. He said, oh, Mr. Pelvis, I pray for you. I pray for you every night. So that's my story about Sophie. I've got some more, I'll tell you. I don't want to overload you. I'll tell you some more next week. So that's Sophie.
Let's do it.